Guns out, Jared.
Opposed to me.
all year round. Not just
Kinda like this.
jealous.
Good evening. The chair will open the meeting at 6:33. First order of business is Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pay attention to those last words.
Item 2 is acceptance of minutes of 10/24/16.
Chairman, I move we accept the minutes of 10/24/16 as written.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Marcy, seconded by Mr. Fox. Is there discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Appointments and resignations.
Greg, is this a perfunctory thing
Yes.
you want us to do?
Yes, it is. So the new public records law that takes effect January 1, 2017 requires the town to appoint records access officers, either one individually or multiple. And my thought is that Orphan, myself, and Chief Warner for the Chief of Police be the designated public access officers. It'll guarantee that there's someone that's here and available at all times. Or will handle any requests pertaining to municipal departments other than the Board of Selectmen and Town Administrator and Police Department, and those will be handled by the chief and I. And this would bring us into compliance. If you take no action, then the town clerk becomes the default records access officer. I think it makes some sense to have multiple bodies.
So did you do a favor by not including Dean?
I did, because typically it's not the type of department, you don't have too many, so yes, the dean was done a favor by not being included, but if there's a public records request, it'll come through us. I can see he's thrilled.
There's a fire station to build.
He does.
Okay, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to move that in accordance with pending law, begin January 1st, 2017, that we appoint the following people as records access officers: Greg Balyakonis, Town Administrator, or Finn, Town Clerk, and Steve Warner, Chief of Police.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Joseph, seconded by Mr. Fox. Is there a discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Unanimous vote. Item 4 is public comments, citizens' comments. Is there anybody here tonight that doesn't have something on our agenda that wants to be heard? Seeing none, move on to item 5, which is public hearings. It looks like we have a poll petition, so the chair will open the public hearing at 6:36, and it will be to act on a petition from National Grid number 211-28083 to locate poles, wires, and fixtures, including the necessary sustaining and protecting fixtures along and across the following public way: Oxford Avenue, National Grid, to install 2 SO poles beginning at a point approximately 165 feet southwest of the center line of the intersection of Oxford Ave and Cemetery Road, and continuing approximately 108 feet and 108 feet in the southwest direction. Beginning existing pole 65, approximately 165 southwest of the center line of the intersection of Oxford Ave and Cemetery Road, National Grid to install pole 64 approximately 108 feet southwest of pole 65, and pole 63 approximately 216 feet from pole 65 in the same direction alongside Oxford Ave to provide new 3-phase service to Ramco Construction at 123 Oxford Ave, Dudley, Mass. Also for permission to lay and maintain underground laterals, cables, and wires in the above or intersecting public ways for the purpose of making connections with such poles and buildings as each of said petitioners may desire for distributing purposes. Yes, sir.
Yes, Steve Susie from National Grid. The reason for that, we just have to extend the 3-phase line that goes from Oxford Ave and down Cemetery Road. So we're just extending that to the driveway of Ramco because they're upgrading their service and they need 3 phases for rock crushing equipment that they're going to operate. So that's the reason for the poll petition.
Okay. I see no one here, I don't think, for this hearing tonight. so I'll open it up to the board. Any questions from the board?
Yes, the opening in the gate and the fencing to Ramco's site,
Thank you, Michelle.
isn't that north of the northernmost intersection of Cemetery Road and Oxford Ave? And
The Cemetery Road like loops in.
that's why I said, to the northernmost entrance intersection.
Yes, so the northernmost section of Cemetery Road where that intersects, where House 25, 129, 131, Oxford Ave continues down, and that's where we're gonna extend the pole line.
Right, but Ramco is north of that intersection, isn't that correct?
The entranceway isn't, no.
The entranceway?
They own, it's a large property.
I
so
understand that.
The entranceway is like in the middle of the Cemetery Road loop.
This really explains it all.
Oh, it's that far south
Yeah,
on Oxford Ave?
yes.
Okay, then that answers my question, thank you.
Anyone else?
I have nothing.
No questions?
Mr. Valiakonis?
No, public was duly notified, so if anyone is here,
Okay, hearing no more discussion, seeing no more people interested in being heard, the chair will close the public hearing at 6:39. What's the board's pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the petition from National Grid, number 211-28083,
That's good.
as written.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Fox. Is there any discussion?
Just to ask, could we ask the clerk to make note that as it is noted, item number 5 on today's agenda? That's all.
Okay. Any further discussion?
3 times, John.
3 times.
Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Item B is Neski Incorporated, DBA Marty's of Dudley, looking for a change of manager to Karen Landry.
Could I ask a question on this one?
Mr. Joseph.
Greg?
Yes, sir.
Michelle, who is the current manager? I thought Karen was already the current manager.
Samantha Straw.
Samantha.
Oh, Samantha, okay.
I see there's no one here from Marty's of Dudley tonight. What's the board's pleasure?
You want a motion and then we can discuss, or?
Yep.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we grant the change of manager to Karen Landry for Niski Inc., does business as Marty's of Dudley at 119 West Main Street, Dudley, Mass.
Motion by Mr. Marcy. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Fox. Discussion.
Yeah, just, do we know the reason of this, or is it just because she's moved on?
Yes.
Samantha's moved on, okay.
Samantha's moved on.
All right, so let's, yeah, okay, then not that, I have nothing else.
Just a question of the town administrator. Is there, are there any requirements that a manager has to meet before we actually issue the license to that person?
I'm sorry.
Are there any requirements or clearances that a person has to meet prior to becoming a manager or getting, holding a license?
No, what happens is, once you approve, it then goes into the Alcoholic Beverage Control Commission. They conduct their own investigation. If there's a problem, then they get back to us and the license gets held.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Marcy just pointed something out to me. I think I have to correct myself. This is supposed to be a public hearing,
It is.
Yes.
so let's withdraw that
Yeah.
action and at least open the hearing.
All right, can I withdraw my motion forward, please?
Okay. So,
I'll withdraw
Chair's
the
going to open
second.
a public hearing for this item at 6:42. Anyone here tonight that would like to be heard on this
And
matter?
the public hearing is on what issue?
This is on the Neski Inc., DBA Marty's change of manager.
Okay, thank you.
I didn't realize it was under public hearing.
It is.
I looked at it, so, just a simple change.
Okay, seeing Mr. Fox.
Normally, when there's a public hearing, shouldn't Marty Niski have been here tonight?
Yeah, I agree that Certainly the manager, the person who's gonna have responsibility of the license should be here.
Is that her? Oh, she's here.
Yeah, so
Begin now?
asking you shall receive.
Ladies and gentlemen, Karen Landry.
And her sidekick.
Aw, cute. I can't stand it.
But we don't have any Halloween candy.
So which one of you drove? Which one of you drove to get here?
Did you drive here?
Yes.
Any questions from the board?
Karen, do you want to just let folks know why the change and how long you've been with Marty's?
I've been with Marty since 1992.
You started when you were her age?
I started working in the Redemption Center up at 151 West Main Street. And he's my stepfather. So I came and went over the course of my teenage and young adult life. And I've come back to the area, and Samantha, who was the former manager, moved on to a different position as a wine rep for one of the companies that we now purchase from. So Marty was in need of a manager, and I'm family as well as a suitable candidate for a management position. So it sort of worked out for both of us.
Good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anyone else with questions?
I'm all set.
Then we'll close the public hearing at 6:44. What's the board's pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I now move that we grant the change of manager position to Karen Landry of Marty, Niski Inc., does business as Marty's Dudley at 119 West Main Street here in Dudley.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Marcy, second by Mr. Fox. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. All set. Thank you.
Big eyes.
I think this meeting is gonna start trending because of
Thank you.
watching her on TV. That was pretty cute.
Next time let us know so we can have some candy ready.
Okay. Thank you.
So everyone leaves happy.
Yeah. Cute. Aw.
Okay, the chair is now going to open the public hearing to deal with the fiscal year 2017 tax classification hearing. Principal Assessor Lisa Berg. Good evening.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
Just
sir.
before you start, I just wanted to be able to read the legal notice because it is a public hearing. Town of Dudley Public Hearing, the Board of Selectmen will hold a public hearing Monday, November 14, 2016 at 6:40 PM in the Dudley Municipal Complex, 71 West Main Street, Dudley, Mass., room 321A. The purpose of the hearing is to act on the application, that's not it. Hang on. 6:30, to act on the real estate tax classification. The Selectmen will be asking the Dudley Board of Assessors to select a residential factor which will determine the percentage of tax burden to be borne by each class of property within the town for fiscal year 2017. Written and oral comments will be accepted during this public meeting, posted and published on November 4th, 2016 in the Webster Times, and I apologize for my dyslexia and one eye reading the wrong story. So Lisa's here, and there's a packet that she's prepared, which I think is done a great job in terms of putting together different options.
You all received your packet?
Yep.
Okay. I feel like a broken record because nothing's really changed since last year, and we have all, I feel like a broken record because nothing seems to have changed from last year. Everything is pretty much the same, all our percentages. But as Greg said, the purpose of this hearing is for you to vote on either a single or a split tax rate. We've never had a split tax rate, and basically it's because we don't have a lot of large businesses in town. We're allowed to shift the burden of the taxes from the residential properties or classes onto the commercial, industrial, and personal property classes. If you look on page 3, I did a breakdown of all the large taxpayers in town. So I have 23 of them there. There's 17 that are over $1 million in assessed value. There's only 3 that are over 2 million and 3 over 4 million. All the other commercial industrial properties are, you know, the small pizza places, hair salons, liquor stores. So if you go on to page 4, it shows you where I did 5% increments of shifting the tax rate off of residential and putting it onto the commercial industrial properties. Currently, our single-family tax average assessed value is $231,222. So the average tax bill this year will be approximately $2,763. And the commercial, industrial, and personal property average value is $221,073, and their average tax bill is $2,642. Right now, if the state approves our tax rate or our recap sheet, our tax rate should be $11.95 per 1,000, which is about a 23-cent drop from last year's tax rate. So if you look at all the options there, if we start with option 2, if we shift just 5% from residential to commercial and industrial, the single-family homes will see approximately an $11 decrease in their taxes, and commercial and industrial will see a $132 increase. If we go all the way up to the 150%, the single-family residentials will, actually just residentials, I'm sorry, will see only a decrease of $58, but the commercial and industrial will jump $661 per year, which is a big hit, you know, where the businesses are pretty small and we're trying to keep businesses in town. So there are 351 towns and cities and towns in Massachusetts. Only 115 of these have split tax rates. So that's less than a third of the state that has the split tax rates. Our overall values for single families this year increased about 4%, and commercial industrials jumped about 1%. And if you see on page 5, I just did the past 5 years' history of the tax rate. On page 6, you'll see the assessed values by class. See, they didn't increase very much over the past 3 years, pretty much stayed the same. The percentages by class is exactly the same as it was last year. We have 92.3% residential, and commercial is only 7.7%. And down the bottom, I just did a comparison with surrounding towns, comparing what their residential percentage and what their commercial industrial percentage is. So, like I said, we only have a 92% residential with a 7.7 commercial industrial. If you look at Southbridge, Southbridge has 23% commercial industrial, and they only have a single tax rate as well. The only one in the surrounding areas that have a split tax rate is the town of Webster. Do you have any questions?
Mr. Fox?
What is your board's recommendation for the tax rate?
They recommend we stay with a single tax rate.
And out of the single tax rate, and it would be, bear with me 1 minute, please. Which of the 6 options?
Option 1.
Option 1.
Oh, option 1, I'm sorry.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Mr.
John has one too.
Yep.
Fouché. Are they on this list?
I don't believe so, but let me just look really quick.
I know we have, that we worked out a TIF with them.
They never got a TIF.
Say again?
They never received a TIF.
They did
They
not?
were too late to receive the TIF. They were supposed to do it when they were under construction.
I thought we granted them a waiver to extend it because it was the general contractor's fault, not theirs. I'm almost positive we did that.
That was never brought to my attention.
That's what?
That was never brought to my attention.
Paul,
It
what's the
was-
name of the business again?
It's IFG Engineering.
What is it?
I think it's IFG Engineering, owned by the Fauchés.
Yeah, it's on Fauché Road.
Right.
Up here on the left.
I know there was discussion about it with the last town administrator, and then nothing, I never saw anything after that.
I am under the impression, strongly under the impression, that we granted them an extension to file for a TIF because it was not they weren't really dramatically late, but they were late, but it was a general contractor's error, not them.
I believe the general contractor gave them misinformation on one,
Right,
two.
and I'm positive that Peter Jankowski at the time agreed to meet with them to work out whatever we could, and I'm surprised that, to your knowledge, there is no TIF.
They did come to me, I think it was last year, asking if there was anything, any tax breaks my office could give them, and there was nothing I could do. So I don't know if they're under the impression that they were gonna receive a TIF either, because they didn't mention it to me.
Okay, I don't know either, but Mr. Chairman, could I ask that the town administrator, along with Lisa, be instructed just to look into this with the Fauchets to see, just for our own satisfaction, what happened? Did they meet with Peter at the time, and what was the result of that?
You
Because
remember
I don't
anything
see the
about that,
TIFs
Michelle?
until,
Because they were actually thinking about staying in Connecticut rather than moving their workforce here. Absolutely.
Webco, too.
Webco definitely has one.
Webco's done.
I think Peter was talking to town council about it, and then I never saw anything go through, because you as the selectman, I believe, would have had to draw up the TIF.
There's your answer right there.
The
Yeah.
TIFs are fairly new, I mean,
And one of the reasons I ask is because it's the kind of businesses we want, obviously they're already here, but number one, it's the kind of business we want to draw to Dudley. It's clean, all right? They're not putting pollutants in. I will periodically, as I do in a number of businesses, I might even be trespassing, I'm not sure. But I'll go in and I'll just drive through the lot, and I notice, the number of cars. I don't count them, not that anal, but I will count them. I mean, I'll take a look at it. And there's quite a few vehicles there, so obviously their workforce has moved in, all right? And then just recently, I don't know if you noticed, they've done major work on the old Quinn Shirt Shop building in front. So there's a significant improvement to that property, 360 degrees, and I don't know what they're gonna put in there, if they're gonna lease it to another company or what, but I wanted us to be aware of that. But I have to tell you that, we trust that things will be done when we pass them on to departments or to the town administrator, and it would just be nice to know how it was disposed of, favorably, unfavorably, whatever. Yeah, and that's the reason I asked. The second question I have quickly is, we have 2 more solar arrays that should be in place shortly.
I believe
Will they
East-
show up on this next year?
Those are payment in lieu of taxes.
Right?
So that's a little bit different than them showing up on this form. But if the values are substantial to break their way into the top 15, they'll be here.
Yeah, the only thing that's going to change value-wise, like he says, it's a pilot program,
Yeah.
so it's not personal property, so it's not gonna show up on here. The only thing that's gonna change for them with me is their land is now gonna be commercial property. It's no longer residential property, so they're gonna see a large increase to their land value,
Yep.
but it won't be anywhere near getting onto this list.
All right, so this one solar farm that is on here,
That's the one that there was.
WGL Energy Systems.
That's Washington Gas.
Yeah, so again, like you mentioned about the TIF,
Yep.
that was done prior to myself coming on board. There was no payment in lieu of tax agreement with that facility.
They're assessed as
So
personal
we
property.
missed the boat on that one.
I don't know if we necessarily missed the boat, but it's subject to assessment by the Board of Assessors and regular taxation by the Board of Assessors.
Okay.
So they get taxed 2 ways, Washington Gas. They get taxed as personal property on each panel, inverter, converter, on the personal property side, And then the land on the residential side is assessed as commercial property.
I'm sorry, is it appropriate if those two other solar arrays go online and become valuable valuable property, is it possible to list them in the future with some kind of notation or asterisk that they're not assessed at that property, at the tax rate because of the payment in lieu of taxes, but to have that here to see what the value of those properties are for our own information?
I can do that.
Could we do that? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And Paul, I don't know why there wasn't a payment in lieu of tax agreement done on that
weird.
West Dudley facility. I don't know.
No, that won't happen again with you here.
Well, it certainly won't. It leaves open to interpretation what the tax value of that property is in the future.
That flows from Southbridge into Dudley. You can only get there through Southbridge.
Yeah, that's the one that straddles both towns, right?
But Southbridge has a pilot program with that company, and we don't.
Okay, thank you.
Lisa, is the tax rate on page 5, does that reflect the debt excluded items?
I don't believe so, no. No, because that's not going to, the debt exclusion's not, you're talking about for the fire department?
Right.
So I'm looking at,
I don't think that goes into effect till next fiscal year, right?
In terms of assessments, right.
so how are we reconciling page 4, where it says residential 1195, and page 5, where it says 1218?
Oh, I can address that. 1218 is the current year rate.
Yes.
The 1195 is the proposed rate. 1218 is the rate for the year ending June 30th, 2016. So that was the prior year rate. The current year rate would be 1195.
That's the proposed rate. As long as the recap sheet goes through okay, that'll be the tax rate.
Okay.
1195.
I didn't put it on that other page because it wasn't, it's not, hasn't
Right,
been approved yet.
1195.
1195 is the number then, right? You won already, you can stop.
And this would not, and this would not reflect any debt exclusion numbers as fire station, because that will come on the books July 1 of 2017.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Marcy?
Yeah, so, thank you, Lisa, for all the hard work on this. This is always interesting to look, just at the value of those big properties and, you know, the historical rates. You know, we still, even with the proposed rate, will still be, you know, one among the lowest in the state and still be a full-service community, so I think we
We're
should
still
be.
the 66th.
Yeah, still the 66th
We haven't
lowest
moved.
tax rate in Mass, right, and full service, so you gotta remember that,
And non-split rate.
and non-split rate.
Non-split rate.
Think about that. So my point is, I think I support keeping the rate the same, not a split rate. And, you know, we always talk about any ways we can do to bring business into the town and at least make the environment such where it's okay to do that. People, hey, you know, now that the town is invested in itself and we're getting a fire station and all this other stuff, so I think it's a good thing to leave it alone. Thanks.
So if you look at the Douglas, I'm just looking at that chart on page 6, where it's just the residential percentage versus commercial industrial property with the single-payer tax rate. Douglas is 93% residential. Dudley is 92.3. Douglas is a tax rate, this is $16.82?
Yes.
So they're $4 more expensive per thousand than we are? Okay. I'm just gonna rewind it again so we can do it again.
Okay.
Douglas has a $16.82 per thousand tax rate with 93% residential. Dudley has a proposed $11.95 tax rate at 92.3% residential. So I think it's always been our policy that we continue to not chase the 8% businesses out of town that we have now. Leave it as a single-payer tax rate. Is there any other discussion for the hearing?
One question.
Mr. Joseph?
I see where we've got the value listed for Park and Shop. What about the whole Dudley Plaza? Who owns that? Is that on here somewhere?
Lyle Metanio, or however you say that, Park and Shop, they own that whole building.
Okay, okay, all right.
I just
so
put Park and Shop in there so you
That's
knew
the
which.
out-of-town owner.
Right.
All right,
I just put that in there so you knew what building it was.
So it's really not Park and Shop, it's Dudley Plaza. Okay, thank you.
Anything else? So as I wind up to close the public hearing, Leicester's residential tax rate is $14.90 per thousand. The tax burden of Dudley is $11.95 per thousand. Southbridge is $20.21 per thousand. Dudley's tax burden is $11.95 per thousand. Webster's tax rate is $15.14, split tax rate, $15.14 residential, $19.49 per thousand. Tax burden of Dudley is $11.95 per thousand. Charlton is $13.78 per thousand. Dudley's is $11.95 per thousand. Oxford's is $16.93 per thousand. Dudley's is $11.95 per thousand. Douglas is $16.82 per thousand. Dudley's is $11.95 per thousand. And Sturbridge is $19.21 per thousand. Dudley's is $11.95 per thousand.
What was it again?
Mr. Chairman, do you want a motion
I'm gonna,
that there's two things or one thing? Do you want a motion to maintain the single tax rate, which is what we usually do? But do you also want the tax rate listed in the motion?
That's proposed, that's not the final tax rate.
So you just simply want a motion for single tax rate?
okay, we've got to close the hearing.
Okay.
Without further discussion, 7:05, the chair will close the public hearing. What's the board's pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to move that the town of Dudley maintain a single tax rate for all properties.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Joseph, seconded by Mr. Fox. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just documents what you.
Thank you, Lisa.
This is just a proposal.
He proposed.
We don't vote on that.
No, because the Department of Revenue sits judge and jury on that number.
That's fine.
Just one copy, Greg?
Yes.
Good job, Lisa.
Must be doing something right, gents. Just saying.
I think that just stays with
Goes with it.
Yeah. Okay, while that's being signed, we'll move on to item 6, which is licensing and permits. Nichols College is asking for three one-day wine and malt licenses on Friday. I'm sorry, correction. They're now asking for 2 one-day wine and malt licenses, correct? So the first one is Friday, December 2nd, 2016, from 4:30 to 8:30 in the Bison Den, Daniels Auditorium for SantaCon. Good evening. Is the application in order, Mr. Belliacon?
Everything is in order.
Okay. Are there any-
Questions from the
Yes.
police chief? Anything?
No, I've already spoken to them all this
Okay. Any questions from the board? Hearing none, is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we grant Nichols College, I'm gonna do it all in one motion, 3 one-day wine and malt licenses.
Two.
That's fine.
Oh, the third one's gone?
Yeah.
All right then. 2 one-day wine and malt licenses, the first being Friday, December 2nd, 2016, from 4:30 PM to 8:30 PM in the Bison Den, Daniels Auditorium for a SantaCon. And 2, Friday, December 9th, 2016, from 5:30 PM to 9 PM in the Daniels Auditorium foyer for guidance counselor holiday night out.
Motion by Mr. Marcy, seconded by Mr. Fox. Is there discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Now we're going to start discussing the tentative Board of Selectmen meeting schedule for January through June of 2017. Is there a motion to accept this as a tentative schedule? Or do you-
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept this schedule as a tentative schedule from January to June 2017, as written.
Motion by Mr. Marcy, seconded by Mr. Fox. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous. First Congregational Church at 135 Center Road, Dudley, is requesting permission to park on both sides of Center Road on Saturday, December 3rd, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. for the annual Christmas fair. Is that good with you, Chief?
Yeah, also that.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Marcy, second by Mr. Fox. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Item C is the tree lighting, Christmas tree lighting ceremony. I think the town hall is looking for permission to hold the tree lighting.
Recreation Committee.
Recreation Committee is seeking permission to hold the Christmas tree lighting ceremony on Thursday, December 1st, from 2016 at 6 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Joseph, seconded by Mr. Marcy. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Looks like permission to use, no, several actions are requested here for the Clorinda Wood Fund. from the
Mr.
Board of
Chairman?
Health. Yes, sir.
I'd like to move that we approve the following amount requested by the Board of Health for use of the Clorinda Wood Fund. $108 for the period April 2016, and we're going to amend that from 108, which we approved in June, to $354. Also, $48 for September 2016, and $596.50. This all goes, by the way, to Harrington Hospital for October 2016.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Joseph, seconded by Mr. Marcy. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Yes. And here's Mr. Tatro with the student representatives report.
On Tuesday, November 1st, the annual Student Council-sponsored Fall Blood Drive was held. The event was very successful as many students donated. There will be another similar blood drive in the spring. First-term progress reports were issued on November 4th. Also on November 4th, the mock presidential election was held. Students cast their ballot for Republican nominee Donald Trump, Democratic nominee Hillary Clinton, and for the 4 ballot questions voted on by Massachusetts residents. Mr. Trump was the winner of the election with 46% of the vote. Shepherd Hill cheerleaders hosted their annual cheer competition at Shepherd Hill on Thursday, November 10th. Groups from all over the region attended and competed. The Shepherd Hill cheerleaders performed an exhibition. Shepherd Hill varsity cheerleaders were named regional champions at their competition this past weekend. The state finals will be held at Tantasco Regional High School next weekend. In anticipation for Thanksgiving, the National Honor Society has been conducting its annual food drive, going to each class, taking money and canned donations. So far, the project has been a success. The varsity football team won 2 of their last 3 games, one at Fitchburg on October 28th, 44-14, and then at home on November 4th against Groton Dunstable, 35-21. They lost their most recent game at home against Leominster on Thursday, November 10th, 34-28. The last football game of the season will be held on Thanksgiving Day, November 24th, at Tantasco Regional High School in Fiskdale, Mass. 10:15 a.m. Shepherd Hill Marching Band traveled to MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey this past weekend to compete in the U.S. Band's National Championship. They ranked 3rd in their division with awards for Best Color Guard and Best Visuals. The Shepherd Hill Show Choirs traveled to Easton, Mass. This past weekend to take part in the Bay State Show Choir Festival at Oliver Ames High School. This non-competitive event, which involves groups from all over the Commonwealth who work with clinicians from across the country to improve their groups. The Shepherd Hill Choirs perform their fall shows on Saturday night along with the other attending choirs. The season has ended for several fall sports, including field hockey, boys and girls lacrosse, soccer, and volleyball. The Shepherd Hill sports teams had an incredible fall season and are looking forward to their winter and spring activities. In the next month at Shepherd Hill, the Mr. Shepherd Hill male pageant will be held on Thursday, November 17th at 6:30 p.m. The 25th Annual Shepherd Hill Craft Fair will be held on Saturday, November 19th from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. The second floor has been opened up this year to crafters, and large turnout is expected. The Shepherd Hill 8th grade open house will be held on Monday, November 29th at 6:30 p.m. to give 8th graders of Dudley and Charlton an opportunity to experience Shepherd Hill before deciding their path for their high school years. Second quarter progress report grades close on Friday, December 2nd, and they will be distributed on Friday, December 9th. The Shepherd Hill Drama Club will be performing its fall production, Bad Auditions by Bad Actors, on Friday, December 2nd and Saturday, December 3rd, both at 7 p.m. The Shepherd Hill Show Choir's 7th Annual Holiday Spectacular will be presented on Friday, December 9th and Saturday, December 10th. Tickets,
And they'll get us all tickets.
tickets go on sale on this Friday, November 18th.
There you go.
So
Paulie, thanks for buying those
I'm
for
telling
us.
you.
All right.
If you have not been to that, you need to go. That is a great performance of live music, I'm telling you.
it's a fun show. I love doing it. I look forward to it every year. Yeah.
That
That's
it?
just about it. Yep.
Good report.
Can I ask the kid a question?
Please.
Huh? When the craft festival occurs at Shepherd Hill, the population of the town swells like Sturgis does on Motorcycle Week. Are they gonna provide shuttles from somewhere to the high school?
Typically, they do provide a shuttle from the middle school parking lot up to the high school because people do end up parking down the hill at the middle school. So
Oh, yeah.
I know in past years they've had a
So
shuttle.
they go from the middle school up?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I thought the mock election that they did, the little micro election, was really pretty slick. It actually came up pretty close to the actual local results.
It was very well run. I was very impressed with how they called us down by homerooms, and we had to go into our precincts, and it was very much like a real election. They treated it very, very seriously. It was very interesting.
And the 3 kids in my house that are in the Dudley school system all had their own commentaries, and it was actually like a house divided there for a while. But I have to say, those 3 kids are handling defeat, well, those who were defeated in the election, a lot better than
the regular population?
than the population of the country, yeah. Board member comments.
Just one. I want to publicly compliment the chairman, town administrator, and town council for producing a coherent, accurate, honest press release on the Islamic Society cemetery issue. And I especially appreciated the subtle and sometimes not so subtle jabs at their maverick attorney, Jason Talaman. So I want to compliment you. I think it was really well done. And I've talked to several people who are pleased that the town of Dudley has taken the position that it has. Thank you.
Thank you.
Paul.
Mr. Fox.
I just want to extend a thank you to Aura and her crew and her staff that worked so hard and many, many long hours, especially with early voting this year for the first time, and for handling the crowds at election. I just want to thank them all for the great job they did.
Yeah, that was definitely quite the effort. With
Can I add one thing?
with early voting. Mr. Joseph.
Yeah, I want to compliment and thank the fire chief and his building committee for producing, with much effort, a proposal for a station that the town badly needs, but spending all the time and effort in proposing a successful proposal to the people, and I'm so pleased it was finally approved. And thank you, Chief.
So, my 2 cents is, I was able to participate in the Veterans Day ceremonies with Mr. Fox and Mr. Sullivan and Police Chief and others, and it was very, very well run. I think our Veterans agent, Mr. Rogerson, did a great job, working with the town of Webster to make it go off without a hitch. It was a great day for it, and I'm just thankful that I was able to participate. And also a thank you to the voters of Dudley for allowing the town to move forward and build a fire station. Thank you.
Mr. Valiakonis, there was an article in a Telegram yesterday, I think, about soil trucks.
Yeah.
And it started off with I think the title had something to do with overloaded soil trucks entering Dudley and other parts of the state. And it started off with, I think the first line or two was, the Dudley Board of Selectmen approved, and then it went on to say about these overloaded soil trucks and their public safety nuisance and so forth. Do we have anything to do with regulating the weight of the individual trucks that travel around the state?
We absolutely don't. As Mr. Joseph was going to say, the state police handles that, and the newspaper was aware of it when I spoke to them. The other thing that I wanted to clarify is that project you're talking about up on Oxford Avenue.
Yeah,
That was before the board and approved by the board back in August of 1998.
sure.
So wasn't this something this board wasn't part of that original approval process? But you were part of the approval process
For the 24
after that
hours.
fact.
Right.
And those were all done in public meetings and public votes, and there's nothing to hide. From our perspective, we've dealt with this thing up front, cards face up on the table.
Yeah, so, because I was like a little bit concerned that I had slept through the hearing where we were regulating the weight of the soil trucks and their speed and so forth across the street.
And we never did that.
Yeah, okay.
We never did that. We only approved letting them come in during certain time periods, excluding Sundays.
Yep.
That's the only thing that we did. But I was pleased, once I got past the first paragraph, I was pleased to note that there really was no fault finding on behalf of either the property owner, Mr. Andrelevich, or the corporation, or the town of Dudley. It basically is the truckers who exceed. What I don't understand is, how can they leave where they are, overloaded? Is there only a scale when they get to their destination and not when they leave? It would, seem like common sense to have it, a scale, when they're leaving, if they're overloaded, not when they're arriving.
Yeah, and it seemed to also say that, through the chair, that, the trucks that showed up in Dudley were the less weighted than some in those other locations they talked about. And that the owner of that property and the other person that was involved with that project have been warning them not to do it. So looks like at least we're trying to self-police.
Nothing hits those violators quicker than going to the penalty box.
Right.
Right.
And I think that's a great idea.
We don't want to bust up Danny's roads. We just
Thank you.
works hard on those,
I get frustrated with the,
Danny,
sometimes I think if we ordered paper and they got a speeding ticket in the WB Mason truck, it would be Dudley Board of Selectmen ordered 5 reams of paper and it resulted in 3 moving violations.
We're doing a good job. People
Resulting
know
in the
it.
town's tax rate being $11.95.
95, right?
What you should
Is it
provide them.
$11.95?
I almost forgot for a second.
I think a lot of people forgot for a while there.
Remember, Jay, first you get sworn
Town
in, then you
administrator
get-
report.
get sworn in.
Just really quick, we got some letters from the Attorney General about bylaw. Bylaw approvals, and they did reject the solicitor's bylaw that was put forth for Springtown meeting, saying that it was unconstitutional and violated the rights of these solicitors. So we'll be back to the drawing board again for Springtown meeting. I guess I'll give you a copy of the letter if you'd like to read 4 pages of legalese. So,
Yeah, I think we should Because there were people who supported that initiative at the town meeting, I think we should make
I think it was a great, I think it was a great idea.
Yeah.
Busy time of year for law changes. I mentioned to you, public records law goes into effect on January 1st. There's some changes in the procurement law that went into effect last Monday on November 7th. And then on December 1st, changes in the federal overtime wage law. So we're under the gun in terms of compliance with all of these laws and changes in these laws. And we'll do whatever we can, but it may necessitate some changes internally as it affects personnel to make sure that we stay on the right side of the wage laws. One thing that, speaking of law, that I think we should put on the agenda is actions from ballot question number 4. So if you read through the detail on ballot question number 4, there are a number of local options that the Board of Selectmen as licensing authority can enact. Those may be establishing the number of marijuana establishments that a town may have, and also adoption of a local option tax.
Does that include 0?
I don't believe so, but we can, I don't know if Steve has any more info on that. I think what we need to do is put it on the agenda. I'm not saying that necessarily a public hearing, but I think we need to discuss at a meeting in terms of lay out a plan and a strategy, so that if there is town meeting actions that are required, we have articles in place that are ready to go.
Okay.
I agree with that.
Also agree with Zach.
Last thing is, we're out to bid on the uninterrupted power supply for this building. Remember, the town meeting voted $60,000, so we have bids open until the 30th of November. So that's it.
Thank you.
Greg.
Chief? Well, that narrowed it down. Your turn.
How long you got? How long you gonna be?
Well, now I'm going to say my thank yous. You know, I'm the fire chief. So I'm going to thank the voters of Dudley for voting yes on the fire station and for their support. I wanted to extend the thank yous to the building committee, to the town administrator, the police chief, even the highway superintendent. They all, I think they all pitched in. And especially to my department membership. I mean, what a great group of guys. They really helped the last minute. Really? I'm getting there. Relax. My department membership, they really did a lot the last week. They held signs. They went out. We did a real good social media campaign the last week. And lastly, I would like to thank the Board of Selectmen for helping out as well. See, don't worry, John, you weren't left out. No, but seriously, we worked long and hard at this, and I think everybody had a hand in it. It was no one person, it was multiple boards. We got approval from everybody, all the department heads, the townspeople. I'm glad it finally passed. And one other thing I have is, I had mentioned a couple selectmen meetings ago, and I had spoken to the town administrator. We had an unfunded mandate for the ambulance for IV pumps that we had to have by June 30th of next year. And I would have had to ask for that on spring town meeting warrant, but since then we've found 2 companies to donate 1 pump each. Henke Sass Wolf donated money for one, and Gentex donated money for one. It was just over $10,000 together, so we're all set now for that. And I'd like to thank firefighter Trifoni, because I put him on that, and he got the money. That was him, not me, so he deserves the credit.
Good job.
Good job. Thank him for us.
Thanks, Chief. Great job. Maybe we can send some thank you letters to the companies.
Yes.
Good job, Dean.
Good evening. Just one quick point. I think we're looking into a gun buyback program on December 10th. I'm still kind of gathering some of the information on it, but what that is people, if they have old firearms or things at their home they want to get rid of, we can take them back, and in exchange, it's sponsored through, I think, UMass Injury and Trauma Center up there. Sponsors a program where they donate gift cards and things like that to give to people if they want to turn in guns that they either want to get rid of or might have inherited for some reason, or they're old, unsafe, whatever it is, if they want to get rid of them. So I'm looking into the parameters of that. I'll probably put something out this week, but I just figured I'd throw that out to you as a little bit of information.
Chief?
Mr. Fox.
Chief, when does our canine dog Tyson come on board?
Should be by the end of the month, because there was some setbacks. Officer DiDonato had a foot injury about halfway through, so he had lost some training time, but they agreed to extend the academy out, so I believe it should be the end of November. We should be.
Okay, I
out
met
there.
Tyson the other night, last Tuesday night. He's quite an impressive dog.
Yeah, nice dog, and
Dog.
yeah, Shane's learning a lot with it. It's a very, very involved program, but yeah, trying to get that going as quick as we can. Thank you.
Nothing from Mr. Guy. Okay. Item 11, we're at.
Motion to adjourn?
Is
To
there-
executive session?
Oh, yeah, Paul.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm reading some of the reports. Yep. Mr. Chairman, I'm going to move that we convene, or we adjourn into executive session under Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 21, subsection 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining and/or litigation. And specifically regarding the following. 1, a grievance hearing with the Dudley Police Association, and 2, the ongoing situation with the Islamic Society of Greater Worcester versus the Zoning Boards of Appeal et al., and that we will not reconvene in public session.
Second?
Motion by Mr. Joseph, seconded by Mr. Marcy. Roll call vote.
Paul Joseph, aye.
Peter Fox, aye.
John Ruda, aye.
John Marcy, aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.